what we are seeing at this point, and we've mentioned this many times, the U.S. is backed into a corner. Russia is destroying the proxy army of the United States, which is the Islamic State, and Al-Qaeda, and al-Nusra, and every other terrorist organization inside Syria. Basically, they're funded, they're paid for, they supply them with military assets, and they're using them all to get Assad. So basically, Turkey decided to basically shoot down a Russian jet. They took it out because they said that the Russian jet flew into Turkish airspace. And then the pilot ejected from the plane, and basically on the ground you see the Islamic State and other terrorist organization. They were basically firing at the person parachuting. Now there's two different videos out there. One shows them shooting at someone that's in the sky, but they're coming down with a white parachute. Then there's another video showing them shooting, and the person coming down is in a red parachute. So we have two conflicting videos right now, which makes no sense. So what happened here? Well, Turkey decided, and they've given Russia warnings before, that do not come near our airspace, do not cross over the border. And the Russian Su-24, as far as Turkey is saying, crossed into the border and violated its airspace. And then we see that a Russian helicopter was sent to rescue the pilot, and the Syrian opposition said they shot it down using a TOW missile, which is supplied by the United States. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing the United States and Turkey now provoke Russia. This is what they are pushing for right now. They are pushing for a war, and they're doing whatever they possibly can to provoke Russia into doing something. So something right now doesn't make sense. Because if you think of this and you use common sense, Russia didn't realize where they were flying, and let's say they did maneuver into Turkish airspace. The first reaction is to down a plane. You know the Russian plane is not there to attack. You know from the radar feed that it was bombing inside of Syria. There could have been a warning. There could have been maybe shots fired around the plane to give a warning. But normally this happens quite often, where planes go into different area. So did Russia fly into Turkish airspace? Well, we have to remember one thing here. Back on October 5th, Turkey intercepted a Russian jet, which said they violated its airspace. And this was a setup for what happened today. And Turkey said that the F-16 jets had intercepted the Russian fighter, which violated the Turkish airspace, and they'd given them a warning. But what the corporate media kind of leaves out of this whole thing is that basically Turkey extended its borders by 5 miles, setting up a safe zone area. Now, they moved their borders into Syria. And basically, the Russians who were flying around were flying throughout Syria. So, what we are seeing right now is that Turkey decided to go ahead with the okay from the U.S. to fire at this plane and bring it down. So on that October 5th date, the U.S. military official suggested the incident had come close to sparking an armed confrontation. And when you read the report, he said the Russian aircraft had violated Turkish space by 5 miles, and that the Turkish jets had scrambled, but the Russian aircraft had returned to Syrian airspace. Remember, they extended their borders. So the Turkish security official said he could not confirm the account whatsoever, but the U.S. is saying that yes, this did happen. So basically, the U.S. was kind of pushing Turkey in this direction. And they were claiming that their airspace was violated. So what we are seeing right now is that the U.S. was directing Turkey to go after a Russian jet if it flew anywhere in that 5-mile safe zone. Now, this area is still inside Syria. And the Russian Defense Ministry put out a video, the actual radar following the Su-24. And when you look at the radar information, and remember, Turkey didn't put out radar, the U.S. did not put out radar, Russia is putting out the radar, and when you follow it along, the Su-24 never entered Turkey, according to the borders that they had before Turkey moved them 5 miles into Syria. So President Putin is saying that this is a stab in the back. And will Putin go ahead and start a war over this? No, he is not. He is not going to push this. Of course, Russia is upset about this. And basically, they're taking precautions right now. They're upping their security. And at this point, they decided to basically stop all military activity working with the Turkish government. And going forward, this is going to be a problem. Now, we understand, if we believe the Turkish official story and the U.S. official story, and if we go with that line of thought that, oh, Russia jet, they flew into this area and they, accessed Turkish airspace. But let's think about this for a second logically. Turkey has been bombing the PKK in North Iraq without the permission of the Iraqi government. Did they shoot down the Turkish plane? No. Israel regularly violates the airspace of Lebanon and Syria, and actually bombs Syria. Have their planes been shot down? No. U.S., France, Britain, Jordan, they all violate Syrian airspace. Under the pretense, of course, of getting terrorism. But does Syria come and shoot their planes down? No. This was extreme. This was uncalled for. And it was used, of course, for many different agendas. One was to provoke Russia. The other one, if we remember, Turkey got rid of the Patriot air defense system. And this could be part of the agenda to have them bring the system back into the country. But we can see the main objective was to provoke Russia at this point. So the flight data was released by Russia, and it shows that the Su-24 never entered Turkey airspace and was attacked while performing legitimate maneuvers over Syria. And Putin right now is out there saying that this goes far beyond what Turkey should be doing. They took the side of the Islamic State and they were protecting them. This is why they shot down the plane. I mean, he said Turkey is behaving as if Russia shot down its own plane. He says there is no way that the Russian plane threatened Turkey in any manner whatsoever. Remember, the U.S. and Russia signed an accord with the U.S. to avoid air incidents just like this. And Putin is out there saying, listen, oil from the Islamic State is being shipped to Turkey, and Turkey then goes ahead and sells it. They're basically working with the Islamic State. They get military support from the US, they get military support from Turkey, and from the other Middle Eastern countries. They're all supporting terrorism at this point. So basically, Putin is out there saying Turkey now supports the Islamic State, because that's really what they're doing. They were saving their armed forces on the ground. Because as we know, Russia has been bombing this entire area, pushing the proxy army back, and they're losing the battle. And as we move forward here, we're going to see the provocations continue and get worse as we go on. So NATO called an emergency meeting, and they wanted to look at the events. They're saying that everyone should calm down at this point. Of course, they're absolutely loving this point of it, because they brought down a Russian plane. And basically, you're going to know that they're going to try to push this a little bit at a time to try to get the war started. Paul Craig Roberts is out there saying that the Turkey's unprovoked shoot-down of Russian military aircraft over Syria raises interesting questions. It seems unlikely that the Turkish government would commit an act of war against a much more powerful neighbor unless Washington had cleared the attack. Well, let me just say, everything leading up to this, they most likely did. And now Obama is saying that the moderate Syrian rebels include all the terrorist groups. Well, this is kind of ridiculous, because they're terrorists. And we knew they included all the terrorist groups. We knew from the past that they were all working together. There was no such thing as all these separate groups. They're all one and the same, all being funded by the same thing. They're all getting the weapons from the same area. And Russia and Iran are saying, listen, they will oppose any attempt to externally remove Assad. The only way Assad can be removed is by the people voting. Now, we understand that the United States is trying to convince everyone that they're going after the oil tankers. They dropped the leaflets on the ground, warning the drivers to get out of the truck. Why would they do this at this point? Makes no sense unless they're trying to save their proxy army. And something else very interesting happened. The U.S. military intended to destroy all the trucks, but what happened was they ran out of ammunition, and they just couldn't get to all of them. They destroyed some of them, but they just couldn't get to all of them because they ran out of ammunition. Wait, so they're trying to tell us, and this is coming from the Army Colonel Stephen Warren, they're trying to tell us that they were set up to do this this run to destroy the convoy of tankers. They knew how many there were, and they just didn't have enough ammunition. Does that make any sense? Absolutely not.